Hello, welcome and happy Mother's Day. I am so sorry that I cannot be with you this morning. I've unexpectedly come down with coronavirus, so I cannot be there today. But I thought I'd best record you a little something so that you'd have a bit of a sermon rather than sitting in silence for 20 minutes. But I am, of course, talking today about Mother's Day, which you may or may not have noticed, but I'm not a mother. So I'm perhaps not the most qualified person to speak about what it takes to be a mother. But thankfully, I grew up watching my mum, who is the best mum in the world, so I know everything it takes to be the world's best mum. And having watched my mum, I can tell you that the most important thing about being a mother is clothing your child correctly. That's right, because even at 30, I still get my mum saying things like, "You'll need a coat, you'll need an extra jumper, you can't go out like that, you'll catch your death." And that is an accurate impression of my mother, in case anyone is wondering. But what's more, mums are not just practical. They know that a child's clothing is representative of the household. So if they go out looking messy or looking silly or go out wearing dirty clothes, they represent the household badly, and they represent their mums badly. And again, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard my mum say things like, "Oh, Jeremy, you cannot go out wearing that. What on earth will people think?" And I'm there trying to explain that I'm literally going around a friend's house and we're going to sit there and play video games. And I don't need to be dressed up, but my mum will be there going, "Oh, but what if there are others there, Jeremy? You cannot wear that. You can't, look, it's got a stain down it, for crying out loud. You cannot wear that. It's ridiculous." And so all mothers innately know that their child has to wear appropriate clothing. And this is never more obvious than on a child's first day of school. Now, I have some photos here. How do I do the transition? I think it's that one. Yes, of me embarrassingly aged 11 on my first day of secondary school. Don't I look dashing in my school uniform, which is clearly 3 sizes too big? I'm there. I've got another one here of my friend. Oh, how do I change the thing? Oh, where's the thing? There it is. Of me and my friend both being sent off to school in our school uniform. We were made to parade for about an hour before school, before we go off, so they could take lots of photos, because my mum had spent ages making sure I looked perfect. Little did she know, as soon as I got to school, I loosened the tie and undid the top button, and but she doesn't need to know that. But school uniform is something which parents love, and they love taking pictures of their children in school uniform, especially on the first day, but children hate it. I've never met a child in all my years of youth work who likes their school uniform. And it means that one of the most exciting days of the year is in fact Mufti Day. And the reason it's so exciting is that this is when you get to see what someone's actually like. You get to see what people choose to wear. Now, the weird thing is that although there isn't school uniform, people tend to find that they stick into certain groups. In my day, it was goths and emos, chavs, skaters, we had surfers, but there were maybe 10 different groups which people tended to fit into based on what they wore. And they would all wear almost a uniform based on what group they were part of. So the emos would all wear dark clothing and have their hair a certain way. Chavs would wear Burberry and a t-shirt. Skaters would wear jeans and a t-shirt. And the surfers would wear a surfer shirt and shorts. Things like that. And what it shows us is that you can tell a huge amount about a person by what they choose to wear. It might tell you about their interests. It might tell you about their job or how fashionable they are. As you can tell, I'm an extremely fashionable person. It might even tell you a bit about their personality. In fact, it didn't take me long going through my wardrobe before I found my Marvel t-shirts telling everyone how nerdy I am, before I found my Monkeys t-shirt telling everyone that I'm into certain type of music, that I like my 80s music, and my Man City t-shirt telling everyone that I'm extremely smug about the 2 hat-tricks that Haaland has scored this week. Because we all wear clothes that fit our personality. We all like to present ourselves in a certain way. And it's almost as if we have a uniform based upon what groups we're part of. And so for me, this begs a very big question. What exactly is the Christian uniform? Because we may not wear a dog collar like a vicar, or we may not wear a crucifix. We may not have certain gowns or hats that we all wear. But what does a Christian look like? And I'm definitely not saying that all Christians should wear exactly the same clothes, although I have had a lot of young people recently telling me I need to get church merch so that they can advertise our youth groups to all their friends with their clothes and having something of a core on the side or St. Saviour's Youth on the back. But we don't need to all dress the same. But yet this idea of clothing yourself was something that Paul writes about in our reading today. Now, what you need to know is that at that time, people, when they were being baptized, they would take off their old clothes, be baptized in the water, and as they'd come up, they'd be presented with a new, clean gown, a new garment, which they would wear as symbolic of their new life, their new purity, their new cleanliness, that they've taken off the old and that they've put on the new. And so what Paul is saying here is that we don't only need to physically put on new garments. We need to metaphorically put on a new self and new clothes. Now, at this point, I will... Oh, that's not the right cam. That's not the right one. Oh, you can't see me. Now, oh, no, that's not the right one either. Oh dear, this is going terribly well. Wonderful. Now, at this point, I was going to embarrass one of the Moreland students. As you all know, I have a philosophy of if you can embarrass the Moreland students, you do. And last time I did a sermon, I dressed up the Moreland students in very embarrassing clothings, and that talk didn't even have the word clothing in it. Whereas this Bible passage clearly does. So I was going to dress up the Moreland students, but you'll have to make do with me instead. Because this passage tells us that we need to clothe ourselves in a new way. So what exactly does our passage today say? Well, it says this. It says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves. So we are going to have to put on items of clothing. We are going to have to clothe ourselves with certain traits or aspects of our personality. Well, let's see what exactly these personality traits are. The first thing we are going to have to clothe ourselves with is compassion. So I've got my compassion right here. It's a black jumper, which I think clearly demonstrates compassion. So we're going to clothe ourselves with that. I'm going to do it up like so. Beautiful. Feeling very compassionate, guys. What's next? What is the next item that I need to clothe myself with? Kindness. Fantastic. Well, I've got kindness right here. This feels like kindness. Clothing ourselves with kindness. Oh. 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 Fantastic. I'm compassionate and kind. What else? What is the next thing that I'm going to clothe myself with? Humility. Right, well, I cannot think of anything more humble than a Man City shirt after our 6-0 thumping of Burnley last night. Surely this can represent humility in a whole new way. So that's what I'm going to wear over the top of that. Fantastic. What's next? Oh, this is already quite hard to move in. Gentleness. Wonderful. Let's put on some gentleness. Oh, this is going to be our gentleness, which we're going to put on over the top of everything else. Oh my. Fantastic. I'm feeling very gentle. I certainly couldn't move fast enough now to not be gentle. So what are we going to wear on top of our gentleness? Well, clearly we are going to wear some patience. That is what we need to wear next. Let's put this t-shirt on over the top of this, I think. This is clearly a patient t-shirt. Oh, was that back to front? It is back to front. Let me put that on the other way around. Oh. You're going to have some patience with me while I do this. Oh. This is harder than I thought it would be. Oh, this is kind of exhausting. It's good. It's a good workout, really. Okay, we're very patient now. Now that I've stretched out this t-shirt, this is definitely patience. What's next? Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. Fantastic. So the next thing we're going to have to put on top of our patience, gentleness, humility, kindness, and compassion is forgiveness. So let's find some forgiveness. Oh, here we go. This is my forgiveness shirt. Oh, dear. Oh, dearie me. Oh. Okay. Right, this is what you wear when you want to forgive someone. For some reason, New Zealand is very forgiving, I imagine. And finally, over the top of everything else, Paul says, oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. Over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Now, this is where I'm gutted that I can't be with you today, because I was thinking very long and hard about what item of clothing binds together in perfect unity all other forms of clothing. And I could only conclude that what Paul was imagining was, in fact, a onesie. So I did have an Olaf onesie, which I was going to make Dan wear, and I'm gutted that I can't be there to make him wear that. But alas, I shall wear something that represents love. And I can't think of anything that represents love more than my Queen t-shirt, which is inside out. For some reason. Oh, there we go. Because, of course, they have many hits about love. Crazy little thing called love. It's the only one that comes to mind right now. But, here we go. Oh, I realise that I look absolutely ridiculous right now. But here's the thing. Here's the point. You would not miss me in the street if I was walking around like this, would you? I literally, I can't even put my arms down. This is how ridiculous I look. And I'm not saying we all need to look ridiculous. But what this is recognisable. You wouldn't miss me. If you see this, you would be able to make certain assessments about me. And in the same way, when we wear our Christian uniform, people should be able to identify that immediately. Now, this is actually a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be, so I'm going to cut it here and quickly get out of this because it's generally weighing down quite a lot on me and I can barely move. So excuse me for a minute. Now here's the thing, guys. As ridiculous as I just looked, this is our Christian uniform. We are called to wear these clothes. Maybe not literal clothes, but metaphorically, we are called to clothe ourselves with compassion, with kindness, with humility, with gentleness, and with patience. And with forgiveness, and most of all, clothing ourselves over all the top of these other virtues which we're called to have, we need to clothe ourselves with love. And if we have love, it binds all these others together in perfect unity, holds them all in place. So this is really the challenge for us, is are we living a life which is clothed like this? Or are we living our life in a different way? Now, as I've already said, what Paul's probably referencing here is this idea of having old, dirty clothes and having new, clean clothes. And if we read the passage in its context, he talks about what it is to be clean and what it is to be dirty. Now, here's the thing. As any respectable man in his 20s knows, in your bedroom you should have a pile of clean clothes and a pile of dirty clothes. And never the twain should meet. They should be separate and kept in different sides of the bedroom so that you know which of your clean clothes are clean and which of your clothes are dirty. And you definitely do not want to get them mixed up. And all right, in an act of desperation, you might occasionally pick up an item of clothing and, okay, that's fine. But as a general rule, you don't want to be picking out of the dirty clothes pile. You always pick out of the clean clothes pile. That is the rule. That is the fact, is that you should always try and wear clean clothes. Because if you have clean clothes, why on earth would you go back to your dirty ones? Why would you go back to these horrible, messy, dirty clothes which have already been worn? And this is the analogy that Paul's drawing upon in this passage. He's talking about our old selves and our new selves like they're dirty and clean clothes. And if we look earlier on in the passage, it talks about what it means for clothes to be dirty. And we have these evil desires, these greeds, impurities and idolatries and lusts and things like this, which are dirty, are horrible. And then we have this idea of clean clothes, pure clothes, fresh clothes, where Paul writes that it should be about compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, forgiveness, and love. And if we're able to wear these clean clothes, why on earth would we go back to those dirty, horrible clothes that we were wearing before? This is really what I think Paul wants us to ask ourselves, is are we going back to dirty, old, disgusting clothes when actually we have these new, nicer clothes? Now, I recently went clothes shopping. My mum very kindly took me clothes shopping and bought me some brand new clothes. And when I bought new clothes, I didn't want to take them off. I wanted to wear them everywhere. And my mum went, no, you should save some of these clothes for special occasions. But I wanted to show off my new clothes. That was my natural impulse. I want everyone to see me in my nice new jacket. I want to get all the compliments from wearing these cool new clothes rather than the same old clothes that I've had for donkey's years. And this is really, I think, the picture that Paul wants us to draw upon, is what clothes are you wearing, metaphorically speaking? Because we should take pride in the fact that we are wearing these virtues. We should take pride in the fact that people see these virtues in us. This is what people should be seeing in us. This is how people should recognize us as Christians. Because ultimately, the thing about a uniform is it tells everyone who you represent. No one sees a police officer and thinks, oh, they might be a representative of, I don't know, a muffin factory. They see a police officer and know that they represent Her Majesty the Queen and the law and order of our land. Whenever you see a doctor wearing their doctor clothes and nurses wearing their nurses outfit, you know exactly what they stand for, what organisation they are a part of, and who they represent. We are called to be representatives of God, and this is our uniform. We are called to wear appropriate clothes for our job here on earth. And Paul here is telling us exactly what the appropriate clothing is. So we're going to play another song now, and whilst we do, I want you all to think about, what clothes does everyone see on you? Do they see these new, clean clothes, or do they see the old, dirty clothes? Because it's easy to fall back into wearing these old clothes. It's easy to fall back into our old lifestyles. But we're called to be consistently wearing these new clothes. And so I want to get you guys to reflect on, are you wearing your new clothes? Are there any clothes which you need to put aside in order to wear these new clothes? So please be thinking about that during the next song. And I'm going to pray for us now and say, Heavenly Father, thank you for this new uniform that you offer us. Thank you that we can put aside our evil desires, our old, disgusting clothes, and wear these clothes you offer us. Father, help us to be representatives of you, constantly representing you with kindness, compassion, humility, gentleness, patience, forgiveness, and love. Amen. I hope you will have a lovely Mother's Day, and I'm sorry again that I can't be with you. Take it easy.